Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to share with you our top 5 tips for gardening in the summer heat. I know we're not officially in summertime yet, but my goodness, here in North Carolina, and I think in a huge part of the country, we are experiencing quite the heat wave both this week and next week. We're talking about temperatures in the upper 90s. And it is hot. So we thought it would be really fun to kind of share with you some of mine and Jerry's top 5 tips for gardening in the heat, because gardening is a year-round sport, especially here in the South. And yes, I say sport because it involves blood, sweat, and tears, and brains, and all sorts of things. You got to have an action plan. So today we're going to share with you our action plan. We are standing here in our front yard. I wanted to share with you a couple of things. First of all, this massive row of daylilies behind me. A lot of you have been asking about what these are when you see like drone shots or big pictures of the whole yard. This is just a double row of your run-of-the-mill classic yellow daylilies. We are out here in early evening, really, and so the daylilies have closed for the day. That's why they're called daylilies, is because one flower will last a day. So they have closed up. Tomorrow morning they will be in full bloom. Gardening. Well, first tip I would share with you is garden when the sun is not out in the most extreme, right? So maybe that's going to be first thing in the morning or right now when the sun starts to go down late in the afternoon. I wouldn't say late in the afternoon, I would say early evening. That is a fantastic time for you to get out and work in your garden. I know for me especially, that is my favorite time. Early in the morning when the summer heat hits, I can stay out to about 10 o'clock. And then again, late in the evening, it's a great time to get out there. So choose your time wisely in your garden, and that's when you go out and do some of your best work. Now, let's move on and share with you a second tip for the day. All right, so our tip number 2 is probably, in my opinion, is one of the most important ones. When you're gardening in the summertime, it is very, very important that you take care of yourself. What do I mean by take care of yourself? First and foremost, you need to stay hydrated. You need to be drinking as much water as you possibly can. If you know that you are going to be going into the garden, say tomorrow, then the day before, you need to really up your water game. Drink as much water as you possibly can the day before, and then obviously when you are in the garden, you need to have a great water bottle, cool jug of water beside of you, and constantly be drinking. Because here in the South, I know I can only speak to North Carolina, right? That's where we live. So in North Carolina, not only do we have high temperatures, but we have extremely high humidity and the dew point. So not only is the temperature high, but the moisture level is extremely high, and you can sweat just buckets of sweat. So you've got to replenish yourself. So stay hydrated, both begin the day before and the day of. When you're out there gardening, take breaks. Set a little goal for yourself. So if I am here in this flower bed, we haven't been here yet this season, but we've got like the Newly Noor Coleus, I've got the Senorita Rosalita Cleome, and I have got beautiful Rockin' Fuchsia Salvia. So maybe I'm going to come in here and I need to weed, because there are some weeds in here. So my goal is, okay, I am going to weed this section, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. I'm going to rehydrate really well, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to move down and I'm going to do another section. Then I'm going to take another 10-minute break. So set little mini goals for yourself when you're working in a space, and then take breaks in the shade, cooler temperatures, so you can bring down your body temperature, because we do not need to have any heat exhaustion or heat strokes while we're gardening. That is not fun. Also, think about what you're going to wear when you're outside. Ladies with long hair in the South, the heat and humidity, throw that hair up. Get it off the back of your neck so that you do not raise your body temperature. This is not a fashion show. This is about staying healthy and taking care of yourself. Wear a hat. So if you got a baseball cap, put on a baseball cap. sun hat, whatever kind of hat you like to do, put that on. Make sure you put your sunscreen on and even your sun protective clothing. I have found that I often stay cooler when I wear loose clothes that are long sleeves. I have some of my favorite clothes or shirts are like UV protected long sleeve shirts that are kind of that wick away material instead of like a heavy cotton t-shirt that just hangs on your body. Those kinds of clothes, those sun protective clothing, oftentimes, even though they're long sleeves, can be a lot cooler than say like a tank top or a cotton t-shirt. So stay hydrated, take breaks, wear your hat, wear your sun protection, whether it's sunscreen and or sun clothing. Very important that you take care of yourself when you're out here gardening in the summer. Our third tip for gardening in the summer is to not only do you need to keep yourself hydrated, you need to keep your plants hydrated. Obviously, when you have high temperatures and if you're not getting consistent rain, you're gonna have to make sure that your plants are getting enough water. So I thought this would be a great location for us to talk about this because I'm standing in front of two flower beds. One is on irrigation and one is not on irrigation. So there's a lot of different, whether you have irrigation or you don't, you still have to get out there and make sure that your plants are hydrated. So this section that we're standing in front of right here is not on irrigation. These are some Nicotina plants that I actually started from seed last year. These are fantastic plants that do these beautiful, I don't even know how to describe it, maybe a trumpet-shaped bloom, beautiful, pure white blooms. And the fun thing about this is that the scent really comes out at night, and it's this beautiful, luscious scent, kind of a honeysuckle type, a very sweet smell. So these plants that I started from seed last year are not on irrigation, but because they are well established from last year, I really have not had to water these hardly at all. These are doing fantastic. You come on down here and we've got two different clumps of the amazing daisies, Shasta daisies. This is Daisy May. Again, these are wonderful perennials for us, not on irrigation, but I have to watch these because if they do not get consistent water, whether from rain or from me, then they can get very wilted and I need to give them a little shot of water. Now, how do I know if my established plants need water or are they just having some heat wilt? Well, a great rule of thumb is in the morning, if your plants are wilted or limp, they need attention ASAP. Like right now, you need to stop what you're doing and give them water, because if they're wilted in the morning, then they go through a day of 98-degree temperatures in the full sun, they are not gonna last very long. So you need, that's kind of an SOS, emergency red blaring signs that you need to get them water. These Daisy Mays right now, at the end of the day, after going through a hot day, they look fantastic. Do I need to make this a top priority tomorrow to give them water? Nope, I sure don't, because they are doing really, really well. Now, let's say that you have a container like over here up at the top, I have the urns that have the osteospermums in them. These are the Bright Lights Horizon, and it has a grass. Now, obviously, this is a very big container, right? But if you have a container or a hanging basket, this is a great tip for your hanging basket, is they need to have a nice deep watering. So what I like to do is to get a tub. You can get them really cheap. You can get them at the dollar store. You can get them any kind of wide container that's gonna hold water. Put your hanging basket in there or put your container in there, and then water that hanging basket, that container, and then allow it to sit in water for say 30-45 minutes. That way you know that the soil is completely saturated in water, because a lot of times what happens in containers and hanging baskets is once they dry out and you put the hose on it, water's going to shoot right through. And you think, oh, I've watered it because the water ran right through. No, it was so dry that it never absorbed any of it. You want that soil in that container hanging basket to be absolutely saturated, because they tend to dry out a little faster than plant that's in the landscape, right? So when in doubt and your hanging baskets, your containers need a little love, get a container, a nice little plastic tub of whatever that may be for you, put it in there, let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes, soaks up all that water, and then you can take it out and put your next container in there. Really, really easy, simple way to do it, and it's less work on you. Also, for your plants that if you are in the landscape and you need to have them watered, the best time to do it is early in the morning and water them really deeply. So here we are, we're standing in front of the flower bed that has the beautiful incredible hydrangeas. These are in full sun. So when the moment the sun comes up to when the sun goes down, this bed gets all the sun. So we've got the incredible hydrangeas, we've got the double play doozy spireas, and then if you remember, we've got the Super Petunia Mini Vista white petunias in the ground. These were hanging baskets that I took out of the hanging basket and planted in the ground. This bed is on irrigation, and with this hot heat and humidity that we are having, I water this really deeply for about 30 to 40 minutes every morning. I have the irrigation set, it comes on, so everybody gets nice and well watered. You will notice that even though the sun has just gone down behind the trees, my hydrangeas are nice and perky and happy and doing really well. My petunias, extremely happy, doing well. That is because I have been giving them that water, that deep watering, early in the morning. If you don't have irrigation, same thing. Get your hose out there, and remember, you are going for the base of the plant. You don't want to stand here with the wand and do the whole little swirly dance. You're not trying to get your flowers wet, you're trying to get your roots wet. So hold that hose, nice steady stream, the base of your plant. Water goes to the roots, really soak it in, and the early morning is the best because we don't want to put a lot of water on our plants going into the night. Our nights are hot and humid enough. I don't need to add moisture to that because that's when we bring on the slugs and the snails and the funguses and all the other issues. So morning is best. That way the foliage can dry out during the day. When they go in at night, they're nice and happy and everybody's going to do well. Another tip for gardening in the summer heat is the heat is going to reveal to you any kind of problem areas you have in your irrigation. If you will remember, just a couple of days ago, I was in this flower bed planting annuals. I planted some beautiful caladiums, some of the double impatiens, and one of my all-time favorite shade plants, the endless illumination broalia. Here we have a prime example. I planted this broalia right here. Everybody else in this bed is looking fantastic. This sweet pea is not doing so good. Why? Because clearly the irrigation is not near this plant. So that is revealing to me when I look at this and I say, oh my goodness, you're not getting the water that you should. So either I need to do one of two things. I either need to get in here and water it well until it gets established and then it should be fine, or I've got to go find my irrigation line and bring it up so that this plant gets its water. Your plants need water, especially right after you have planted them in the extreme heat. We can't last very long in the extreme heat, neither can our freshly planted plants. So go through, do your garden walks, and your plants will tell you if they're getting the right amount of water that they need. Sweet pea right here needs some water, so I need to take care of this right now. Our last tip for gardening in the summer is if you were going to install new plants into your landscape, which you can completely do even in the summer months, there are a few tips that you really need to do. One is pick that best time to install your plants. For us, that would be the morning. For my personality, I would much rather get up nice and early in the morning before the sun comes up, get my job done, and get out before the heat hits. So if you can, morning is best. If not, if you can do the afternoon, if that is what works for you, then do that. So either early morning or late evening is the best time to install it. Second, make sure that the plant that you're getting ready to put into the landscape is well watered. So before you ever take it out of the pot, thoroughly soak it. Make sure that that soil is completely saturated. Of course, once you dig your hole, use your biotone fertilizer. Very important that you give that root system the best possible start that it can have. And then a little fun little thing that we like to do that really works well, once you dig your hole, you can put your biotone in there. You actually fill that hole with water. Have a bucket nearby or a hose, fill it up with water, take the plant, put it in that water-filled hole, and slowly bring your soil, your native soil back, because that ensures that the plant is well watered, the soil all around that new plant is well watered, that biotone will mix all in there together and it'll be fine. So that is a great way to get that planting area nice and saturated so that it has a great start for the rest of the day. And then of course use your mulch or your pine needles, your compost, whatever you want to top dress to really hold in the moisture of that plant. And then once you have planted it, say you plant in the morning, come back that evening and check on it. Is it wilted? Is it limpy? Or is it fine? If it's doing great, leave it alone. If it's a little limpy, give it a small shot of water so that way it gets a little burst. Come back the next morning. If it's nice and perky, great. If it's not, then you need to give it water. When you're planting new plants in the ground in the heat of the summer, it requires more work on you, that you're gonna have to be constantly coming out there and checking on it and making sure that that plant is adapting well to its new environment and getting all of the nutritional needs, water that it needs for that summer. Especially if it's not going to rain, you're going to be the only source of water for that plant. Or if it's on irrigation, make sure the irrigation is working correctly, because I would hate for you to have to lose a plant due to lack of water. And another little tip is when you're doing, if you're planting trees, they make these bags that, they're just water bags that go around the trunk of the tree that you can fill up with water, and then it just is a slow release into the soil over a couple of days, gives that water, so it's a nice, deep, thorough drenching of the soil with water instead of just like a big shot if you just dumped a 5-gallon bucket of water on it. You can get those at, your landscape supply companies, your big box stores. You can get those bags. A lot of times you'll see them in commercial properties, right? If they're installing trees in the middle of the summer, you'll see those green bags around the base of the trees. Those are great things to do. So those are our tips for gardening in the summer, and I have one more bonus tip for you. If you are like me and this is my cottage garden, and there are tons of fantastic flowers, perennials and annuals and all sorts of fun things, I love to use this area to making bouquets, right? Cut flowers, bring your garden from the outside inside. If you're going to be cutting flowers, early morning is best. You don't want to do cut flowers in the heat of the day. That is a lot of stress on the plant. You're going to get a longer shelf life out of your flowers if you can cut them early in the morning when they're nice and fresh, they're well hydrated, and they will last longer for you in your vase. So my friends, gardening is possible even in the heat of the summer. You just have to have a couple of tricks up your sleeve to do it, and do it well and safely, and to take care of yourself and your plants. Hope you have found this fun and interesting and informative and learned a couple of things. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.